Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. For last episode, our second case, the memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro, came to an end with Olive Green having been William Shakespeare's assailant, using poison on the gas pipe to get revenge for her lover's death, with a fake bard blowing into it in an attempt to take Soseki Natsume's life, which would have been the second murder he committed, all to get his deceased cellmate's hidden loot. With the loot itself having had blood on it, causing Sholmes to stop Iris writing about what went on, we now wonder where the story will take us next, as we start our next chapter.
The grand end of the century Great Exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people. The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies. And today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location. Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before. In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air. To arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you! This one! Yes! Whoa! Yes! Please, that's not what I wanted.
And so on the 22nd of October, 9:36 a.m., Sholmes' suite. Busy recovering from celebrating my birthday. Runo, are you listening? Oh, sorry, what was that, Iris? What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast? No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again? Today's paper is full of news about the Great Exhibition again. Ah, yes, the Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime. You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley? Did you say something, Iris? Oh, gosh! You're even more down! When did you arrive, Mr. Naruhodo? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I, thought you might have known I was here. You know, because breakfast? Iris is quite right. You're clearly lacking in vim, so much so that I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes, for example, your tousled hair this morning with all its unruly spikes. Clearly, it can be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has. Ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Ha 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 ha! Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now. 6 months? Since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned. Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley? Did you say something, Iris? Back to moping. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down the dumps than me. I know, and the great exhibition has opened. You'd think you'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go see it together? I want to, of course I do, but I can't. Not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case that you can't be distracted from, is that it? I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley. I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. The events 6 months ago we're going to talk about first, though. Half a year ago now, I took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable yet at the same time unforgivable mistake.
Words fail me. This situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study, so that's what I've been doing. You have, haven't you, Runo? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room and the notes about Sholmes' old cases. Brewing Iris' special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Start on the silverware next, Master Naruhodo. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider. Specifically Lord Strongheart of the British Supreme Court on Whitehall. Lord Strongheart? Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favourite fellow. He's not mine either, but he's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who can grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could, and I can't do that just sitting around here. The whole of London has been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, the finest works of art and feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching. Oh, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons. Look down on? Do you mean those things fly? Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air. But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. I can't understand it at all. That's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge. I suppose they might be. Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. Something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I'd seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are. Says the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here, every page of this paper carries some article or other about the Great Exhibition. Where the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. The Great Exhibition newspaper has been entered into the court record. The shadows cast behind, is that a metaphorical way of referring to the back page of the paper? Shall I check it out? The Great Exhibitions of all nations, eyes of the world are on the Crystal Tower. First test of matter transport device. Every article on the front page is news about the Great Exhibition. Public experiments to demonstrate brand new scientific ideas, cultural exhibits from around the globe. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. We must all go to see it properly before too long. Lord Van Zeek's in Compatriot Corner. So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition and everything that's going on there. Other than this rather gloomy looking one, that is. Wait, what? What's the matter, Runo? The Reaper attacked. That's Lord Van Zeek's. This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? It's a lost cat too. It's more important, you know? I guess not. The Reaper attacked. Well, first of all, let's ask Sholmes about his gloomy mood. Are you investigating a particular tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add. That's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shh! Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. We must not discuss it here. Never know who might be listening. You're acting very strangely, Hurley. What do you mean, Iris? Well, usually, the more mysterious and complicated a case is, the better Hurley's mood. Is it really a case that's bothering you? Iris, please, you mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes. Never mind. Once I've had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene. That was a deep sigh. So the Reaper attacked. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zeek's was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes, Prosecutor Barak von Zeeks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always find ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hands of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Zeeks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time. He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness, is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zeek's hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know? Well, in the article here it says, as to what of Lord Van Zeek's in his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow's morning edition. Ah, I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No, I can't wait until tomorrow. In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps? Well, I must be leaving now. Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, you really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. The thought hadn't crossed my mind. Now I'm wondering where you're going. Well then, see you later indeed. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out of the door. All right then, Ryuno, let's get going. Oh, Iris, what are you wearing? I've got change to go to the Great Exhibition. You're going to take me. What? But I was just going to go to the Supreme Court. Oh, well, that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then. All right, fine. Just lower that weapon, would you? Of course, and after the Supreme Court, then we'll go to see the Great Exhibition. I didn't know you had an inspector-y kind of thing to look at too, you know? Your own kind of costume. VR? Well, I don't think anything of interest has appeared that seems to be all that different, I must admit. Though, of course, there's always parts of Sholmes' suite to examine at will. Ah yes, Mr. Sholmes' faithful musical companion. Wasn't this violin made by somebody famous? Yes, it's a Stradivarius. I'm afraid you'd have to save up for 100 years before you could afford one, Ryuno. If I were to save up for 100 years, I wouldn't choose to buy a violin, personally. Oh, what would you buy then? I really have no idea. I think I'll have to do it so I can find out. Well, poor Scully, we knew you well. Let's move on as the game wills us. To the Lord Chief Justice's office. What should I make you for breakfast tomorrow? Why not surprise you, Ryuno? Okay, thanks, cheers. That's very nice of you. So we now move to the British Supreme Court. Lord Chief Justice's office. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here. Some things never change, like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in this place. It doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there. Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here. Of course, I was forgetting that you've been here before. The time we came here 6 months ago. When Suzuda-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Ah, I understand you wish to speak with me. Oh, Lord Strongheart, I trust you've been keeping well? Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. Oh no, not at all. I like nothing more than standing around staring into space. Oh, good to know. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Mel Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. He'd only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We're extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. And furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh, well, I've not heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As we are the hosting nation, I have much to do, and is my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention as a result, so be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what that is about. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. But actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens. Bruno, just take a deep breath and come out with it. Take a deep breath. Permission to work, please. I actually came here today to ask for your permission. And go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked and I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend someone under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. Well, that's true. The Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring change to our own justice system at home. That was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I had to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young law student was charged. What do you suppose it really was? What do you mean? Mission? He's not making any sense. Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your reactions, or actions, and have been studiously obeying your revised instructions. Do you mean... As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. Thank you so much! That's wonderful news, Bruno. In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope? Of course, please tell me more! What is this curious affair? You described it as a curious affair. Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday? Oh, no. Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see. How was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think. Instantaneous kinesis, as in moving things with a click of the fingers. That's right. It's just what my herbal blends need, a dash of devil may care. Whatever this serious accident was exactly has clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odi Asman, an investor and a well-known figure in society. A large explosion. A man died. Odi Asman. The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrain. He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow on the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There's very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. The Great Exhibition, a scientific experiment gone wrong, and murder. I feel out my depth before I've even started. Still. We should go to the prison straight away then, and try to meet with this German professor. Don't you think? Definitely. Ah, yes. One more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, with Lord Van Zeeks. How? Well, we gotta find about the Forensic Science Symposium first, or present to him the paper. All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition. And next month, the largest and most important of them all will take place at last. The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly! Ah! London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate. So it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly! The future of policing. Ah! Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging his feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly. It's extremely alarming. Ah! If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you could be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry. By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail everyone now. What? Oh, how fascinating. It all began 15 years ago. I was... Don't go into the lights! And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter. In the simplest of terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right, yes, that's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got a nose in another book now. Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful? I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Well, let's try and present then, I guess. See if we can get any more information. Oh, that reminds me. Have you seen this? The reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition. Of course. No. Not that. The story on the back page. What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not? Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he? There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zeeks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well. If it interests you, it does, strangely. What's his condition? Fortunately, Lord Van Zeeks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zieks. But the man was acquitted. I've no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money? A deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchmen certainly seem to think so. He was a man by the name of Asman. Mr. Odie Asman. Did you say Asman? That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition. Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality, the head of a significant crime organization. Unbelievable. I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? Try me. Why do you use Lord Van Zieks as a prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zieks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still, something's clearly going on here. I have Van Zieks work for the prosecution service for two reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials are nothing to do with him. That doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way so many have died if not by someone's hand? Van Zieks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget. 11 hours late? That's quite something. That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yes, where would I find Lord Van Zieks now? I would assume he's at his office. Right, I'll go and ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth. Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Harebrain's defense entirely in your hands. Of course, yes. Thank you very much, my lord. It literally is away with me now. To leave the room and move onwards to an office, by the sound of things. It'll be interesting to see how the other half lives and all that, as we continue on next time on the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Now that we've started this brand new case. I'll see you around next time for more. Bye-bye.